What does rugby mean to you? To many, rugby is a sport, an activity, something you see on TV. But to me, rugby is not just a game. Rugby is everything. Rugby is a sport that has allowed me to excel with my strengths, and in the process, find an amazing new family of friends that have become a crucial part of my life. What does rugby mean to you?
It's just really familiar, it feels like home, and especially just the community and this full sport aspect. I always feel really comfortable in the field, so I just think it's just such a big part of who I am.
It's almost like a combination of different things, you still have to move forwards well, passing backwards. There's a contact aspect which isn't really involved in lots of other women's sports.
I have the athleticism and the speed, the strength, and everything, and I found myself excelling in the sport, and I slowly fell in love with it.
You make a family with the team, so it's pretty much rugby means family.
Growing up, I've always been known as the athlete, sporty spice, if you will. I was the go-getter, playing every single school sport in middle school, and an athlete outside of school. But I've never felt more connected to a sport before than I do with rugby. It all started when hearing stories of my dad coaching his boys' high school rugby team. I was amazed by this sport. I was intrigued, watching the team pass backwards, go into scrums, and tackle people for fun. It gave me this thrill of excitement that I knew I had to be a part of. My rugby journey started in grade 9 with the help of Madame Ben David. And little did I know that this interaction would become a life-changing experience.
When you take an athlete with a hard work ethic, a really good work ethic, and committed to something, you were already skilled, you were already fit, and then you come into something where you're like, oh, this is awesome. It's impossible for you not to flourish, and you did amazing. Rugby for me started out as something I played sport. I love playing sports, and I ended up, I think the one thing that I connect is I used to play basketball and I used to get fouled out of the game all the time. So I ended up, my coach was like, you should try rugby. And I was like, I went to practice. I was like, I don't get what's going on here or whatever. But then I played in my first game and I was like, oh my gosh, there's nothing like this. The people that you play with become your brothers and sisters, and it becomes this sort of club that you're part of, and it doesn't matter where you go in the world. Rugby to me means community. It just means yes, it's a sport, but it's somewhere where everyone is accepted, and it's a sport that should, and in my experience has always been somewhere where you can feel good.
Rugby means the world to me. If it wasn't for rugby, I would not be who I am today. Along the way, I've had so many great opportunities, such as playing for Team Ontario in the Guelph Cross Border Series, winning the Ontario Junior Rugby Championships with my club team, the Aurora Barbarians, and being selected for the Ontario Blues Developmental Academy as one of the top high-performance athletes in Ontario. But the fun doesn't stop there. I've recently been committed to play for University of Ottawa's women's rugby team. I'm so excited to continue my journey and start a new chapter of my life.
As a player, my memories, the two that would stand out for me are the bus rides for away games with my university team, not on the field, because it was just singing and fun, and that's where you really get to know people and so on.
Throughout this journey, I've met some incredible people, including teammates who have become lifelong friends, and coaches, both new and old, who allow me to grow and become a better rugby player.
For me personally, being able to play a contact sport as a woman really made me empowered as a leader. It taught me a lot of skills, literally getting knocked down and getting back up again.
When flipping through the sports channels, do you ever notice women in mainstream sports? How about women's rugby? Statistics claim that around 40% of participants in sports are women, yet they only receive 4% of sports media coverage.
Rugby is another male-dominated sport, and sports are really male-dominated in general. So I think just having that outlet to be physical, be fierce in who you are, it's really important.
But when women's sports are not exposed, How will people become interested?
The unique aspect of rugby is that it's actually one of the only sports in the world where the rules are the same. The rules, dimension, ball size are the same for both the women's and the men's game. So it gives women this equal playing field.
Through life, like you kind of determine what you're going to do, and then people will view you as this or that or whatever, but because you're female, you have this sort of, mold that you're supposed to kind of fit into.
A lot of people, when I say I play rugby, they're like, well, isn't that a guy's sport? Isn't it a too tough sport for females?
And it's always the same answer, like anything that a male is able to do, a female should also be able to do.
I believe the more involvement and investment there are for girls in male-dominated sports will help to raise the profile of women's rugby in Canada.
For example, for our national program, our men, I don't even know what they're ranked, they're so low. And they continue to receive more funding from our world governing bodies than our women's do, who are ranked 4th in the world. And so I think the investment needs to be made through sponsorships, through the world governing body of rugby, to invest in how exceptional our sport is for women and girls.
We've always been told that people don't want to watch women's sports, and people won't buy tickets to watch women's sports, and that sponsors don't want to be there because it doesn't bring enough revenue or whatever. I think it's really just a view that the world kind of has had in general about women's sports, and it's changing. Like we've seen it with soccer, we've seen it with hockey, and I think it's just a matter of people investing in it and believing in it, and that's starting to happen a little bit already.
Any sport has the power to inspire us. For girls, sports can be life-changing, but only when they have equitable opportunities and support. Rugby has given me all of this and more. I'm fortunate to have experienced true moments of joy through the families I've made and the memories I will treasure for a lifetime. This is the power of rugby.